Hi there, I'm Timothy Linsdau, video producer and a Christian, and today putting on my wind energy cap. Can wind energy solve our energy needs? Like and comment on my videos, subscribe to support my channel if you would, that would be terrific. No, it doesn't look like wind energy can solve the problem. Of course, the government and many people have gotten into the fray that we're pretty much doomed from greenhouse gas emissions and climate change. Okay, so we've jumped down this rabbit hole of renewable energy solving all of our problems. And many people have gotten involved, thinking we can lick this thing with wind. Well, I don't think so. A Harvard study recently put out a paper showing that our energy-intensive society, solely based on renewables, would require a cartoonish amount of land. And what does that mean? Well, basically, it's an incredible amount of land, meaning America's current demand for electricity alone, not including fuels for transportation or space heating or fertilizer, would require covering a territory twice the size of California with wind turbines. And already there's been good arguments to show that we've been spreading things across the desert, especially solar, but that's another issue. Right now I'm just talking about the wind turbines. And what's the issue with that? First of all, you can see it would take an extraordinary amount of land. And where do we have that at? Even though we do have a lot of land, California's one of the biggest states in the union. And you add that double, that's huge. Now, renewables only proponents have no trouble mobilizing against any kind of fossil fuel search, such as drilling or so forth. They don't have a problem with getting excited about that. But they don't mind using up all the land for wind turbines. Colorado last year had a Proposition 112 that would actually have banned new oil and gas production in Colorado, in a proposition that would not, or you could not have any oil and gas production within 2,500 feet of homes and so forth. It was defeated, but I'm sure they'll come back. The whole idea there is to try to defeat and do away with fossil fuels. But can we solve this with wind energy? It doesn't look like it. A new study published by Environmental Research Letters shows yet again that wind energy's Achilles heel is power density. Now, what is power density about? Fossil fuels is a dense power source. You get a lot out of it, where wind energy is a diffuse energy. You don't always get it. And wind doesn't always blow, and it doesn't blow consistently. So you're not going to have consistent electricity. You think blackouts are a problem? That's what you'd be dealing with. They've also tried the idea of batteries. Batteries in the form of hydroelectric dams, where you would take the power from the wind generators, repump the water back into the reservoir, and when your wind's not blowing, you run the water back through the dam. That's extremely complicated. Not all dams are able to do that. Besides the power lines, you'd have to run all over the place and fill up the environment. So there's an issue with that. Other research has been done. One of the problems is most estimates of wind energy potential ignore what's called wind shadow. And what we have there, in effect, it occurs when turbines are placed too closely together and the upwind turbines rob wind speed from the others placed downwind. And what does that mean? That means you got to have more space for those wind turbines and take up more and more land to make that function. Also, they've done studies on, say, 2016 energy production data from 1,150 solar projects and 411 onshore wind projects. The combined capacity of the wind projects totaled 43,000 megawatts, or roughly half of the U.S. wind capacity that year. Now, some researchers concluded that solar panels produce 10 times more energy per unit of land as wind turbines. That's significant. But their work demands attention for two other reasons. First, it uses real-world data, not models, to reach conclusions. And second, it shows that wind energy power density is far lower than the Department of Energy and numerous academics have claimed. Well, what else would be new? Where did these academics' money come from? That is always an issue. A love of money can cause people to do some crazy stuff. Rural residents also have issues objecting to these wind projects because they want to protect the property values of their land. They don't want to see red blinking lights atop those massive turbines all night, every night, for the rest of their lives, nor do they want to be subjected to the health-damaging noise. They set up a harmonic that damage your health, both audible and inaudible, that the turbines produce. The backlash against big wind is coast to coast, which New York itself, who you think would be one of these left proponents of all wind energy, has mandated 50% renewable energy usage by 2030. The towns of Yates and Somerset are fighting back against Lighthouse Wind, a 200 megawatt wind project proposed for the shores of Lake Ontario. Oklahoma, there's the tiny town of Hinton, continues its battle against Next Extra Energy, the world's biggest wind energy producer, over the sitting of wind projects nearby. California, which just boosted its renewable energy mandate to 60% by renewables 2030, wind turbines are so unpopular that the industry has effectively given up trying to site new projects. And it goes on in other states. It is not so easy. I have asked the questions. Not only is it taking up a cartoonish amount of land, it also takes a massive amount of construction effort, such as smelting the metals that take to make one of these gigantic towers. If you've ever had the opportunity of being in one of these big fields, and I have, these things are massive. The amount of steel it takes to make that tower, let alone the aluminum and alloys to make the propellers and all the other stuff. It takes an enormous amount of power to make all of that, smelt all that metal, make all the parts, let alone put all that thing together, and then put in the power lines to wherever they need to be. And you know, there have been big arguments over power lines because they cover a lot of ground, a lot of land, and affect the environment. But there's an enormous amount of steel that goes into that. They also don't, from what I understand in these farms, it's not like you run the power all into different substations. Each turbine power lines run to a main station. So there's no shortcuts. Each one has its own set of power lines. Well, there you go. You use up more land, enormous cost, and enormous amount of metal to make that work. So there you are. Is big wind going to do the job? Well, big wind has attempted to intimidate people to do that, to get with the program, so to speak. Last year, one of the big ones in the town of Hinton in federal and state court after the town passed an ordinance restricting wind energy development. The wind energy giant also sued local governments and other states. One of the things as the evidence slowly comes out to help people to understand the amount of land, the amount of metal, the amount of production it takes to make these things, and they do not last forever. Already in our Southern California area, some of these propellers have come apart and they fly all over the place, endangering people. That's just one issue. Besides, the issue is the harmonics, the sound, and it creates another issue. So, we're learning about what we thought would save us has become a real issue. And what are we going to do? And the problem, too, is that many companies involved in these renewable energies, are locked into it themselves. Now that the government has pumped in billions of dollars into this effort, and all of these companies are now getting money to do all of this stuff, they're not going to let go of it very easily, nor look for anything new. And that's the problem. Not looking for things new. What would really work? What would be efficient, such as nuclear power, maybe waste-to-energy plants. we've got to take a look at that before we spend an enormous amount of money, used up all the land, and in the process has wrecked the environment that we're trying to protect. We jump down these rabbit holes based on science that's on some computer model, and we're kind of guessing anyway. So there we are. We'll get into other subjects on this, but nobody's asking the questions. All they're doing is jumping on the bandwagon. The billions flow in. Who cares? We got a bullet train in California with the same issues, so we know about spending money and not getting anything. But anyway, it doesn't look like wind energy is going to solve the problem. So I'm going to get smart, get out there, get looking around, see what it is you really can do to solve these issues. So you know what? Get out there in that process and make it a great day.